Hey everybody, welcome to an instant reaction podcast, but it's not really a podcast, it's a YouTube video. Uh,
Videocast.
video cast, yeah, there you go. On the X's and Knowles YouTube channel, it's the triple option minus Trey Rowland. So it's me, Coach AB, Adam Brown, with Kevin Little. We're just wanting to drop some thoughts, kind of an instant reaction thoughts to what we saw tonight from the spring game. Um, it's going to be quick. We haven't gotten to watch the film again. It's just kind of our initial reaction to what we got to watch. So, Kev, why don't you get us started?
Yeah, so I kind of took it on myself to watch a lot of the secondary, just because I knew I was in person and the TV camera angles like to cut off the safeties
Yes, they do.
um, because they just like to torture us, I guess. But I was actually really pleased with the secondary. There were some plays made by the offense, some deep passing plays and stuff. But I thought those were more good plays by the offense than bad plays by the defense. Some names that really stood out to me immediately were Kevin Knowles, and just in general, that stud position is really, I feel like, done a complete 180 since last year. There's just a ton of bodies in the secondary right now, and just being able to shore up that position, the stud allows you to bump Gainer inside. And actually, I thought he did a much better job of filling gaps than I kind
Yeah.
of anticipated.
Yep.
So yeah, just general thoughts on defense. I thought I was pretty pleased with how the secondary played, and even the second team secondary gave me some hope. There was some position sometimes when Akeem Dent was making plays or whatever, but uh, you know that is, I will have to say that they are going against the wide receiver core, who I'm sure we will talk about later. And so that might not be a totally representative sample, but yeah, in general, I was pretty pleased with what I saw there.
Yeah. So, look, Kev, let's talk about it a little bit more though. So we're talking about we're going to talk about the wide receiver core a little bit more.
Yeah, of course.
Let's talk about the nature of what a spring game kind of has going on though, because you dropped it in our Slack earlier, but it's really a lose lose. So like we saw some plays by the offense. Malik McClain making some plays, Josh Burrell making some plays, some other guys making some nice plays down the field. So that means your secondary is getting burnt or getting beat. Um,
Yeah.
and then you've got wide receivers not making plays, and that means that they're not doing well, and your D back core is doing well. Like, can you talk about that a little bit more though? Expound on that thought that you know in a spring game when it's your team versus your team, like what's going on exactly?
Yeah, and I'm I'm sure some of you guys are gonna hear from other media sources or other podcasts or whatever, or even just people on Facebook. It's gonna be easy to kind of say, hey, instead of looking at the positive of Mackenzie Milton made this great throw, they had this great drive, you can always be like, fire Adam Fuller because the defense looked like garbage. Um, of course, that's premature. It's a spring game,
Of
right?
course,
Someone's
of
gonna look
course.
bad, right? And so you just got to take it with a grain of salt. Like there was when I talked about the deep plays, there was one play where Mackenzie Milton threw it to double coverage 40 yards downfield and threaded a needle, and it was just a good throw. And it's
Yeah,
like, well, we're gonna have to go back and see if there was actually bad coverage in that play because it's hard to see live in game. But a lot of those throws, there were some back shoulder throws that moved chunked plays down the field. It's hard for that's just a good play when they make a
yeah.
shoulder throw. You have to tip your cap and say, hey,
That-
you won that.
I mean, it was. I thought the competitiveness of the game was where you kind of want it to be.
Yeah.
It was back and forth. Guys were constantly competing. I didn't see any busts. Again, the secondary and down the field stuff gets cut off on the TV view. I don't know if you saw any busts, but I didn't see any major busts where guys were just running free. And I mean, we can count 8,000 of them from last year. So,
Yeah.
in my opinion, that's a bit of an improvement. And I know that they spent a lot of time focusing less on scheme and more on technique this year. I thought the technique was improved. I thought their catch man technique was a lot better this year. They don't really jam quite as much as some teams do, but I thought that their catch man was pretty good. Um, Overall, yeah, I mean, I thought the D-back play was improved. Like I said, I'm looking for competition in something like this because you do want to see your wide receivers make some plays. But I thought the competition level was great. I still, I said it in our video when we talked about the newcomers, but Jamie Robinson to me is just a really important cog for this
Yep.
defense, and he can stand in there at the stud position and play the run. He can cover guys down the field. I just look to continue to see him grow as we move along. And I'm glad you mentioned Amari Gainer. I've been kind of critical of him. I've questioned some of his ability to fit in the run game and be tough enough inside. And I really did think he flashed tonight, and that's going to be big for the defense moving forward. I thought Steven Dix played okay.
Yeah.
He's a player. He's a player that's going to continue to improve. He was out of the box some tonight because they were running a bunch of running a bunch of trips, which we know Norvell loves to do.
Yep.
So that's not necessarily his comfort zone out there, and I'm sure that they'll maybe game plan around some of that stuff in the season. But I thought he fit. He didn't look like a fish out of water. He looked like he can run a little bit better than he did last year. Uh, let's move over to the offensive side of the ball, and then I think we'll wrap up with the D line because I think that's where everybody's focus probably was tonight.
Yeah.
And it was probably the highlight of the night for this team. But let's talk about the offense. So, what did you see?
Yeah, so it's actually funny. We've been talking in the past couple of weeks about I've been going to these scrimmages and seeing kind of their practices, and the quarterback play is obviously the first thing people are going to watch for. Today, I've got to say, Mackenzie Milton looked great. He was making
Yeah,
throws that you expect him to make based off previous experience that I honestly haven't seen him make this spring. Um, Tate Rodemaker showed why the guy that's a practice All-American is not ready for gameplay yet.
yep.
He just gets a little frazzled in the limelight, and hopefully that's something he can work through in the next couple of years. But as of now, he's probably the best physical. He throws the best ball on the team, but that's not what a quarterback is about. It's about a lot more than that, and I think it was shown today. Mackenzie Milton looked great. Unfortunately, Jordan Travis didn't. I think these kind of scenarios are scenarios where a quarterback like him can't really thrive. They kind of take away his running ability. So, what did you see with the quarterbacks?
Yeah. So, I mean, I thought Milton was on fire. I mean, he looked exactly like what I've kind of been expecting from him. And I know he hasn't had a great spring to date. He's had a couple days where he's flashed, and Norvell mentioned in the post-game presser that on Thursday he had his best practice in the spring so far and was able to build off of that today. He just looks poised.
Yeah.
Where I think the others kind of start to lose that a little bit in a game setting like this. I thought Jordan missed long on on a lot of his deep balls today, which is disappointing. I thought he had some similar shot plays that Milton had. Milton was able to connect. Jordan overthrew him. I think some of that is just. I think Mackenzie's a gamer. I mean, I think he's a kid. He's a kid that's got, and I know everybody hates to talk about it and those types of things, and it's not something that you can really sit down and quantify. But I mean, he just when it matters, he finds a way, and I think you saw that today. And I thought there was a couple times he got called for a sack, and it was like a guy touched his shoestring, and it was
Right.
so I really thought he had some more opportunities to kind of get out and run. And we talked about it where we thought he was going to lose his ability to run, and we were wrong. I mean, we were absolutely wrong. He is every bit as agile and elusive as he was before, in my opinion. And I think that that's a good thing. I think that's a great takeaway heading into the season.
Yeah. There was
So,
one time he didn't slide when he could have, and that kind
yeah,
of raised some questions. But other than that, I thought he looked really smooth out there.
and that's a competitive kid, but I'm sure they're going to continue to work on that with him. Jordan. I thought still looked like he knew where to go with the football. I thought he threw the ball with confidence.
Yeah.
He just was missing, and maybe he just had a bad day. I don't know. I didn't get to see all of his spring. I know all the reports have been great. The mechanics definitely look improved. The arm strength looks improved. I would say he's probably tightened his core up some more and he's able to get some more velocity on the football, which is great. So you look to see him continue to build. Look, push comes to shove, you still have two quarterbacks that you can play, and that's a good thing because
And
last year you had one, and really he was a half because all you could do was run with him. So you're going to need two quarterbacks. You have two quarterbacks. That's a positive in my opinion.
yeah, and I think Mackenzie Milton gives just a little bit of time for Jordan Travis to complete his craft, kind of focus on
Yeah.
getting to make improvements in those technical
Yeah.
areas without having to worry about having the pressure of a whole offense on you. And
Yeah.
same thing for Rodemaker. I think that he's a kid that if he's going to contribute, it's 2 or 3 years down the road from here. And so it's nice to get to put him in the back and say, hey, you work on you work on these things. You need to get more used to the speed of the game. And so I think that's a good thing. So
Well,
what?
let's get into some of the guys that they were throwing the football to, though. I mean, I know that that's what everybody's probably really going to want to focus on because there were a lot of ups and downs. Malik McLean looked like $1 million
Yeah.
flying around out there. I mean, he looks like a freshman wide receiver you're going to be able to build a room around. You were missing Jordan Young. Keyshawn Helton was out there, and he's just so tiny, and he's a player that you're going to game plan some stuff for. He had a jet sweep where he fell down, he slipped, he looked like he
Yeah.
cut off the wrong foot. Uh, who's a Pokey Wilson? Not a great day.
No.
But we've seen him be able to go out and make plays. So you're going to be able to get him a shot play or two down the field. Schemed open off a play action. You've seen him be able to go out and make some plays, but he's not a number one. So you're hoping Andrew Parchment and Destin Hill are coming in this fall and can be that for you. But for the guys that play tonight, I mean, we'll give me some takeaways.
Yeah, no, I think I agree with a lot of your statements. Pokey just, unfortunately, I think he has all the flash to be an exceptional wide receiver, but he just doesn't catch the ball half the time.
Yeah.
It seems like he's more worried about making yards after the catch than making the catch. And there's nothing more frustrating than that because you can't, you lose the whole play if you drop the ball. Yeah, we really didn't get to see much of Helton. I thought McDonald looked good, but he never really got too many catchable balls thrown his way. And so I think you pretty much nailed the nail on the head. You had Portier out there who caught a back shoulder throw from Rodemaker at one point in time, and honestly, I'm excited about that connection. It's not a today thing, but those two seem to be on the same page as each other. And if he's coming in like a Sean McGuire type role his senior year, it'll be important to have someone who he has a consistent connection with. And so, yeah, I think it's the weakest position group on our team right now. And I'm hoping that Hill and Parchment really change that around.
Yeah, no, I think that makes sense.
The routes just aren't crisp. They drop balls.
Yeah,
But they'll make amazing plays every once in a while.
yeah. I'm a little concerned about their routes. I mean, I think that that's something that Ron Dugans is supposed to be known for, is getting guys to run good routes, and I still feel like they're sloppy. The consistency just isn't there, especially with the older guys. McLean, you can let it slide a little bit. Burrell's a big physical looking kid. I mean, he made that great catch down the middle of the field with two guys draped on him.
Yep.
I mean, I think you're going to be able to rely on those guys to give you something every game. McLean maybe a little bit more, especially as the season goes on. And Norvell said in his post game today that he can be as good as he wants to be, or he can accomplish as much as he wants to this upcoming season. But yeah, I mean, that room's going to rely on Andrew Parchment and Destin Hill, and really it's going to be kind of make or break by those two.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, so tight end, I mean, you're missing Jordan Wilson. Jackson West wasn't available today. That room's mediocre at best. Cam McDonald's looks like a nice player, and I think he can do some things in a role. He doesn't get enough opportunities, in my opinion, and when he does get opportunities, the ball always seems to kind of be all over the place for him. Wyatt Rector and Preston Daniel, nice. I'm sure nice kids. And
hey, Wyatt was getting first team snaps.
Yeah, I mean, okay players, but they're not guys you want to be relying on
Yeah.
In ACC football. So, that room's still got a lot of work to do, and they're trying to get it addressed. How about the offensive line? I mean, what were some of your thoughts?
Yeah, so I really didn't get to watch a lot of the offensive line. I wasn't, it's hard to focus on everything while you're watching one thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, not a lot of push when it came to running plays. Yeah, it seemed like the quarterbacks were short on time consistently, and so
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think the second. So I don't even want to bother talking about the second team offensive line because we know there's a depth issue there, but
Yeah,
you're already missing guys as it is. So some of your first team guys are really second team guys. So that you right away get nailed there. You lost Thomas Schrader potentially for the season. We'll see how long he's out. And that's a key cog for your offensive line. Also, you didn't have DLT today. Devontae Love Taylor,
yeah,
he's a starter at either tackle or guard. I would prefer him at guard, but we'll see. I thought they did okay in spurts. Yes, they didn't get a lot of push, but their run scheme not necessarily designed to get a lot of vertical
that's true.
movement. They do a lot of horizontal stuff. They do a lot of stretch zone. They run a lot of counter, so they're working more horizontally anyway. I thought that the backs helped them out a little bit, but I did think there were some running seams there. Toafili had a nice big run. Trayshawn Ward had a couple good runs. When they're able to get that edge shield up and get a decent hook or double with the tight end and tackle or receiver that's there and a tackle, I think that they can create big run plays. And a lot of you're going to scheme a lot of that stuff as the season goes on, with your game plan. So I, I'm not pessimistic. I think that room is what it is. I think that when you can game plan for that group, you can be okay. I did think some of the sacks today were kind of scrimmage sacks. I thought guys would have been able to get out of them. I did think they created an okay pocket, but it wasn't great, and they got a lot of work to do.
Yep.
They've got to they got to figure out that tackle room, especially the depth. I still think Rod Orr is probably a guy that's going to have to help you this year as a true freshman, and he's not going to be ready, but it is what it is. Get him reps and get him ready. So we'll see. I mean, it's a group that's average at best, and they're going to have to do what they can with it. Let's finish it off with the D line, though. I mean,
Yeah.
that was the strength of the team, in my opinion, and
Hmm.
probably agree. I know you were watching a lot of secondary, but do you think the defensive line helped the secondary at all?
Oh yeah, definitely. They didn't have to cover for more than like 3 seconds pretty
Yeah.
consistently. So
Yep.
yeah, it kind of made it hard to diagnose what the secondary is running, but
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, no, they look night and day from last year.
Yeah. I thought they're doing a lot. I mean, again, just on a quick watch, and I didn't pay as much attention to them as I probably should have. I was watching a lot of the offense, but it looked like they were doing a lot of more one gapping. They really looked to want to get up the field more. Jermaine Johnson's a stud.
Yeah,
He's what this team needed. He's better than any defense and they've had since Brian Burns. He's exactly what the doctor ordered. They need to keep him healthy, wrap him in a bubble, do not let him get hurt. I'm excited. I wish we could have seen Keir Thomas, but Derek McClendon flashed for me too. I mean,
yeah,
he looks a little more explosive and agile. His hand play looked improved. Again, he's going against the FSU offensive line, so we'll see how it translates. But I do think there were some positives. Fabian Lovett looks exactly like what you need him to look like. He looks like a stud in the middle. Robert Cooper flashed at times. Dennis Briggs flashed at times. And there's guys that are making plays in there, and again, these are guys that can get up the field and get after the quarterback one gap. You're not going to be asking them to do a lot of read and reacting in there. Get them in gaps, get them up the field, create penetration, and see what happens.
yeah. I mean, we saw it consistently last year with UNC and Miami, and
Yep.
all these teams are going to more quicker defensive tackles, and we're sitting out there with like three nose tackles,
Yeah.
and
Yeah. Yep.
so you can see the extra speed out there, and it's really making a difference when it comes to pass rush.
Yeah, I mean, you're starting to see the progression of they've been able to evaluate what's on the roster, what's on the team,
Yep.
and being able to evaluate what the other teams in the ACC want to do against you and the opponents on your schedule. And now you can kind of build your scheme around that. They knew they probably needed to get quicker up front. They needed to be able to attack these RPOs with speed in the D line position. Um, so we're going to see what happens. I thought that today was a success. I thought that they were able to make some big plays. They were able to make some plays on defense. I thought there was a good back and forth overall. Like, I'm not going to sit here and say that this is a 10-win team or anything like that, but I do think that they're on schedule for the lose little portion of kind of the rebuild mode. It's lose a lot, lose a little, win big or whatever.
Right.
I think they're definitely in that lose little category where they need to be. Um, I think Mike has definitely gotten the identity of this team, which is a physical mindset and a competitive mindset, kind of established this spring. It's got to continue. They got a lot of work ahead of them still, obviously heading into the summertime. But I'm happy with what I saw today. I'm not negative and disappointed. But again, saying that, knowing this is probably a 6 or 7 win team this year, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I think I agree. Nothing but positives coming out of today. You can always focus on the negatives, but it's spring football, so let's have a little bit of
Yeah,
fun.
yeah, yeah.
But I think to me, what this showed was that there's a lot of people questioning, like, hey, why didn't you bring in X person? Hey, why didn't you bring in Y person from the transfer portal or whatever? And instead, they stacked the secondary, got a couple receivers, and fixed some holes on the defensive line. And
Right.
I think immediately I see that paid dividends in today. Like, to me, those three, some of the transfers were some of the people that really shined and really fixed some holes that we saw on the team last year. So
Yeah,
yeah, I have no idea what we're gonna look like, but the schedule's tough next year. But we look competitive. We look like a team that can go out there and fight.
yeah, yeah. I think that you can rely on I think that what you can say take away right now, in my opinion, is you're going to get a UNC effort every week. It may not mean you're going to get UNC results, but you're going to get a UNC effort, and that I'm talking about the effort that they played with in that North Carolina game last year. I think you're going to get that type of effort every week because that's the identity that Mike's tried to develop, and it seems like he's been somewhat successful doing this spring. So that's positive. If you
Yep,
can get that kind of effort and competitiveness week in, week out, you get yourself in close games. You never know what happens.
agreed.
All right, guys, this is our instant reaction on the X's and Knowles YouTube, the triple option. This will be up on Tomahawk Nation. It'll be also being released on the audio under the Seminole Rap podcast on all your podcast platforms. Hit us with a like. Make sure you hit subscribe. Tell your buddies to get in here and get some subscriptions on the YouTube page. Hit the like button. Go Knowles.
Yeah, and I also want to remind you guys that we are planning on doing a fuller, more in-depth film video that you guys are more accustomed to. Hopefully somewhere in the beginning of this week, maybe Tuesday morning. So we'll keep you guys updated on that. Thanks for tuning in.